Peace and blessings. I wanted to speak. On an issue concerning me and a former partner, someone I used to, my ex, let's put it that way. A woman I used to be involved with. Some accusations have come up against me. Basically, I guess rape allegations. So there's a lot of stuff going around. Everybody is giving their opinion. Everybody is saying what, giving their side of the story, or saying this, that, or the other about me and who I am. I just wanted to take the chance to explain, give my defense, and explain my side of the story. And to do that, I'm try to just, give a little background and try to get the full context of the situation. Bear with me, because it's kind of hard for me to know where to start. So I would just say, I met this young woman, at a time when I was not doing too well in life. I was going through the worst depression of my life. Mentally, I was looking for answers in life. My whole world was falling apart because I started to question my God, and when I did that, I questioned our reality. Excuse me. And I started to lose grips with reality. I used to question without truth. I didn't know whether I was even really here, So I was looking for answers about the deep questions in life. Sometimes I used to question, did I go too far in asking questions? I asked questions I should have never asked. But anyway, so I was in bad shape, mentally and spiritually, and it started to affect my body and my mind. And so I also isolated myself. I was at a church for a few years, but I was struggling with answers about God, and that church couldn't give me any help. So I left, and I just started doing my own thing, looking for answers. And eventually God convicted me about how I needed to get back into church. And I went to another church, and these guys had the answer to at least the first part of what I was dealing with, and it showed me that God, does exist, and there's proof for it that God exists. But then, as I reached for more answers about God and who He is, I was faced with some bad doctrine, and it corrupted my way of how I saw God and how I saw everybody and how I saw everything, and I couldn't handle that at the time, and so I just isolated myself. I left. And also a part of the reason I left both of those churches was I saw a lot of hypocrisy and just it wasn't a lot of love. It was, and I understand why that is, because when the doctrine isn't, and no disrespect to those churches, but whether it's the doctrine or whether it's just the lifestyle, it wasn't for me. It wasn't what I needed. So anyway, trying to stay on topic. So yeah, fast forward, I isolated myself, which was a big mistake, because I got used to just being all about myself, and anybody who wasn't any negativity, I didn't know how to deal with negativity without responding with more negativity. So I just isolated myself and just came all about myself, and that cultivated, that selfishness began to grow and grow. And so anyway, fast forward, I met this young woman. Also, I'll go back a little further. I'll just do it fast. When I was younger, my mother, she sheltered us. So she cut us off from the outside world. I used to just be in the basement by myself watching television, and so I was by myself a lot. I'm half introvert, and sometimes it can be hard for me to understand or be sensitive to other people and how they feel when it comes to interacting with other people. It's hard for me to see or understand how my actions affect people, and so sometimes I just really don't know or really don't realize what I've done, or if I did offend somebody, or if I did something to hurt somebody. Sometimes it just, my mind just really doesn't think, and oftentimes I'm looking at things from my perspective and what I meant to do, or what I thought I was doing, and what I did and what it meant to me, that I didn't understand how the other person interpreted it or saw it, or that's how they felt, or that's how they took it. And oftentimes my actions do get misinterpreted, and then oftentimes I am wrong. I know, what I did, even though I might not have known it, it was still wrong. But I just want to make both sides clear. Like, sometimes my actions, whether it's wrong or right, often gets misinterpreted by another party. And also, I think I made my point. But anyway, I think I got that context a little bit. So yeah, so this young woman, I met this young woman a few years ago at a time where we were both not doing too well. Like, I wasn't doing too well, and I already explained what I meant when I said I wasn't doing too well. I already explained that to you. And I feel like this person was the same way. and that's why we kind of hit it off, because almost everything I was dealing with internally, this person was also dealing with internally, you know. Sexual I'll say pornography and lust, etc. You know, we talked about those things when we first met, and that individual expressed to me that she was dealing with that, and I expressed to her that I was dealing with that. We were both dealing with a lot of the same stuff. And so anyway, so when I met this person, or when I met her in person, and when I met this person and we first started to have sexual intercourse, sexual relations, I pretty much let her tell me how she wanted to do it. Like, I pretty much left everything up to her. You know, I don't never impose my will. I want the woman that I was involved with to show me, you know, how she wanted to do things. And, you know, when it comes to that, and this woman was into rough sex, you know. And I'll say this: watching pornography, the devil is subtle. He's real subtle. He uses pornography to warp our minds, or to make us think certain things are okay when it's not. And you don't realize that mentally you are deviating into certain types of behaviors and mindsets and activities that you don't even realize you're becoming, or whatever. And so pornography definitely messes with your mind. So when it comes to rough sex, I watched my share of that type of pornography. I'm sure she watched her share, or had her share, or whatever. So anyway, so that was how we had sexual intercourse. And when we first had sexual intercourse, she was super aggressive. You know, she was actually telling me that she wanted me more aggressive, more and more aggressive. So I was actually trying to satisfy her with how I was being aggressive. You know, this individual was telling me, even was telling me to do stuff that I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, you know, it was a little too aggressive. You know, asked me to do stuff that I'm like, nah, no, I can't do that. Like, no, that'll get me in trouble, you know, for doing some stuff like that. But you know, doing certain things to her that I know I could never do. So anyway, so yeah, that was pretty much my mind towards her, and that was our mind towards each other. That's how it was. That's how, whenever we had sexual intercourse, that's just how it was. And we also got to a point where we just we were both very impulsive when it came to sex. We had conversations about trying to stop, because I'm a Christian man. I was being convicted about the fornication lifestyle, you know. So I was trying to communicate with her like, hey, I don't want to live this way. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. And she seemed to agree, but she would say yeah, but her actions would say different. And I would say yeah, and just sometimes I could not resist. And there's times where it was the same with her. We just could not resist. Like I was saying, there was times where I would be like, no, I'm good, I don't want to. And she would be trying to sway me, like wouldn't take no for an answer, just kept on being persistent towards me. And boom, I would succumb, I would give in. We would both fornicate, and now I'm back in that mindset that just want sex mindset. And I guess she felt guilty, so now she felt guilty that she was the cause of it. So now she's like, okay, let's stop. But now I'm already in the mindset. I told you, don't do that to me, otherwise you'll get me into that mindset. I'm trying to get out of that mindset and that way of life. Don't do anything to tempt me or cause me to fall back into that old mindset. So now I'm in that mindset, and the individual, or she, wants to stop because she felt guilty or whatever. So now I'm being persistent. Boom, she succumbs. We fornicate. And then I feel guilty. So now I'm saying no, but now she's in that mindset. It basically just was like that. That was the normal, or I won't say normal, but that was the usual pattern of our so-called relationship, especially when it came to sexual intercourse. So also, when I was saying about how she liked rough sex, there was times where I would be doing it in a certain way that it seemed like she couldn't take it, or it seemed like it was too much or whatever, and she would pull away or whatever, and then I would pull her back to me, and she would be expressing while we were doing that, and even afterwards, that she liked when I did that. Like there were signs she was giving off before, which was what caused me to even do it in the first place, and then while we were doing it, and then afterwards, and she expressed to me that she liked when I did that, or I did it that way, or whatever. So I'm just under the impression that, because the way she was talking real loud and aggressive, as if she could just take anything, and how she's a hood B-I-T-C-H, don't F her like no B-I-T-C-H, just super aggressive. And so I'm under the impression that she could take all that stuff, or that she liked that type of stuff. And but so there were times where this particular time, in regards to that, I guess she claims that I she was telling me to stop, excuse me, and I didn't stop. But she would do the same thing, but the way, whenever I did it, I would first I would see whether she would even want me around her at all. You know, I would get close to her, and she told me to get away from her, I would get away from her, you know. Or I would try to talk to her, ask her, you know, what was wrong or whatever, and if she still said, hey, get away, then I would get away from her. But if she was cool with me being close to her, then I would cuddle her if she was cool with that, or if she wasn't cool with that, then I would back off. If she was cool with it, then I would kiss her. You know, she like every time I do this, I'm always kind of gauging to see, you know, what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. Like, that's always how I am. Like, I'm never to the point where if you say no, that I would just disregard it. I always leave it up to you. So anyway, if she allowed me to kiss her, then, you know, that turned into foreplay turned into intercourse or whatever. So it's like there's steps, and each step you have a choice to make whether you want to proceed into the next step or not. And I always left that up to this person, to her. So yeah, this particular time, towards the end of our relationship, she was telling me the same stuff as always. And let me back up. There's been times where she would be saying no, but she would just be playing. Like, we would both do that. I even did it. Like I said, there was times where I was serious that I didn't want to do it, and then there was times where I was just being playful or whatever, being, you know, doing what I shouldn't have been doing. And she was the same way. There was times when she was serious, and then there was times where she would be like no, but really didn't mean it, was just playing and wanted me to follow her, pursue her, etc. And so we did those things. You know, that was, like I said, that was the usual pattern of our interactions. So you can see how, okay, so now to the situation towards the end of the relationship. Now she's apparently serious that she didn't want me to touch her, but you can understand all of the confusion, how I didn't really either believe her or, you know, I didn't, you know, so I wasn't getting it, you know, I wasn't getting it. But if that's why also throughout the entire relationship, I used to always tell her, hey, you know, if you feel uncomfortable about me doing something, let me know, make it clear to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's talk about it. That's always how I've been. Always been like, communicate to me, communicate with me. So, like we would, I wouldn't say role play, but sometimes I would just do things like, or she would, like I said, man, we did these things to each other. It was mutual. Sometimes whenever she wanted it, she would just come to me and just jump on me or whatever. It's been times where I've been asleep, and even times where I would be asleep and I didn't want to do it, and I had already talked to her about that and communicated it to her, saying, hey, I don't want to do this no more. You know, I would be asleep and she would come to me, and I'm sure she has something to say about me doing the same thing. When she would be asleep, I would come to her and do the same thing. We would do these things to each other. And then once I did it, I came to her and we just started having sex or whatever. And afterwards, she said to me, did you rape me? And I was like, what? I didn't even really know how to take that or what to, I just was thrown off by that, because she didn't tell me to stop or anything in the beginning, and this is what we usually do anyway. So she didn't tell me to stop. During, she didn't tell me to stop. In fact, it was the opposite, as if she wanted me to as if she was enjoying it, or she was and then afterwards, for her to come to me and say that, I was taken off by it, and I expressed to her, I said, I think it was another time too, I said the same thing, like, hey, this is how I take it, this is how I look at it. If you don't tell me, no, or what I'm saying, like, make it clear to me and express to me that you don't want to have sex, then I'll take it as you do, or that you're consenting, or that you're agreeing to it. So I mean, it just really takes me off, because I'm not that type of person at all. I always try to take care of her physically, take care of her body. Whenever we did do what we did, a time came where in our relationship where we just were using each other. I guess we were having bad blood between us, and so whenever we were having sex, that's what it was about, was just that. And so towards the end, that's what it became about. But anyway, probably say something about I came to her when she was asleep. I already addressed that, how we both used to do that. The saying no, where how the whole confusion surrounding it. Excuse me. So yeah, in a different situation where she was saying, she was she said she couldn't take no more or something like that. And I said, hold on, or wait. Basically saying, hold on just another minute, or wait another minute. And me saying that right there, I'm throwing that out there to say, if you agree or if you disagree with that. Like if she was to say no after I said hold on, wait a second. If you say no, I mean that, then I would have stopped. But the fact that I said hold on, wait a second, and then you basically said, didn't refute that, I took it as if you were consenting, and once again, like I said, sometimes my mind, I don't really be thinking about how I'm making the other person feel or how they interpreting it or whatever. Sometimes I could be insensitive towards that type of stuff. So yeah, that's that time. Then another time where we had sex and I finished or whatever, and then she thought I was done, or she said something, and I was like, can I go again? And and she let me go again. The context behind that is pretty much I always will go out of my way to go above and beyond to satisfy her or to please her. I gave her more than one. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, it would be fair for me to at least get one more too, because that's typically like almost every time. That's what I do for you, is way more than one. And it's not funny. Excuse me for laughing. But you understand what I'm saying? I would do that for you. So I'm feeling like, I'm hoping you will understand where I'm coming from when I ask you, can I go again? So I would say or I would say, well, can I go again? And it would be basically the same response, just with, I guess, in a sense, throw your hands up and say, all right, whatever. And me, once again, not being considerate enough, took that as, okay, that's consent, and I would proceed. But so, in no way am I trying to minimize anything that I did. I know I should have never been fornicating in the first place. I should have never been engaging in that lifestyle, not being married. Excuse me. And also I should have been more respectful to her and more considerate of her and how she felt. And I am sorry to her for that. But I also feel like the reason she was not communicating with me, because there's more to our story or what was going on between us. We were arguing a lot. We were fighting a lot. And another, to address something else that this was, that she has said, is that I used to hit her, or first of all, I never would hit her. Her, on the other hand, she has assaulted me more times than I can count. If I had 5 hands, and I'm not here to throw dirt on nobody, or I have no malice. I'm just telling the truth. So after the 30th time of getting knives pulled on you and bars thrown at you and tasers, and she literally pulled everything, used everything, just all of it. After a while, I started me being so once we had an argument and I pulled out, I pulled something out. I pulled out a small blade. And of course, she would take that and blow that out of proportion as if I did the unthinkable or the unforgivable, when that was the norm for her to do that to me. And then also, one time I pushed her after she was hitting me in the head. I was trying to walk down the steps, just trying to get my stuff and leave. She was hitting me on the head, throwing stuff at me, and I pushed her off of me. I know that was wrong. I tried my best not to do that. I think I'm a lot better now than I was then. That was a long time ago. But I definitely do my best not to do that type of stuff to a woman. And then another time, I came in to minding my business. I was really being about my business, coming to take care of my daughter. And as soon as I come in, she's playing games with me, and I already knew what it was. She was trying to get me to respond so that she could have something to say, something to use to tell to somebody, to try to start a situation, start an incident. I already knew. I already know now. But anyway, so I come in. I'm just like, nah. I just want to, do my fatherly duty, do what I'm supposed to do. And she was just kept playing games with me and hitting me and pushing me and taking my stuff off of me, and just kept pushing me and punching me. And so I just gave her like a little schoolyard punch. She'll take it as if I tried to really, and it's like just really blowing it out of proportion and exaggerating it. Now I know that wasn't right either. I should have, conserved myself better. But that's just not true. If she's honest, she'll admit that. But yeah, so there was just really not a whole lot of communication from her to me about how she was feeling. So yeah, just to give the overall context again, we were dealing with a lot of stuff. Eventually, it escalated to the point where I was talking to somebody. I was like, about it, and I was like, I don't want to handle it myself and get in trouble. And they advised me that if it continued, to go to the police about it. And so that's what I did. I went to her one day again in regards to, my daughter, and she was talking about stuff that I really was not concerned with, about how she already met somebody new and she's talking to him right now, and I'm just like, that doesn't got anything to do with me or my daughter. And so she would just be snapping insults to me or saying things, and then I would just respond which is, I see now that I should have just stuck with I shouldn't even have. But I don't know, I just felt like I needed to say it, or at least communicate to her or whatever. But I guess, it would have been better for me to just, do what I had to do and carry on. But she would just be saying stuff to me that didn't have anything to do with anything, and I would respond to it. I would just say something, and then she would get angry at that. I wasn't trying to get her angry. I was just responding to what she was saying to me. And every time she would say something to me and I would respond, she would just get angrier. And then all the while, I'm getting everything together, me and my daughter together, so we can go about our way. But while I'm doing that, she's steadily talking to me, and I'm still doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm just responding to what she's saying. And then as I'm doing that, boom, she gets angry, escalates, and assaults me again. So I went to the police about it because I got tired. I was angry, and I was real frustrated. And I know it was a mistake. Looking back now, it was a big mistake. Could have tried to resolve things better. But yeah, so went to the police about it, and she was arrested for it. And so, I apologized to her afterwards, but I know that, she held on to just about everything that went on between me and her. Sometimes I did, in a sense, but I was always trying to dead it or communicate about it, trying to work things out. She just was not. We just weren't, I guess, understanding each other. But I know that she was holding on to all these things and wanting revenge for that. And so I know that she wanted to get me arrested. She even expressed that to me, whether directly or indirectly. And so it's no surprise to me, that this is what's happening right now. Hey, if I'm wrong and that's not the case, then I apologize, but I can only go by the history of everything. But I just do want to go on record and be like, and say that I am very deeply sorry for everything that happened between me and her. Excuse me. I think I said mostly everything, but if not, I'll try to maybe, if I see I missed something, I'll probably try to come back and clarify that. There's a lot of things that happened between us and about me that was taken out of context or blown out of proportion. She once even said to some people that I stole a bunch of stuff from her, which is not true. The biggest thing I probably took was like a small piece of food or something replaceable. And I know that's wrong too. It's not. If somebody says, or it's not even that she said don't eat it. It's just that I saw it. I thought it was insignificant. I took it when being inconsiderate. So I'm sorry to her for that. It's a lot of misunderstandings. Peace. I pray nothing but peace and blessings for her and everybody involved with her. And I pray that she and I can reconcile and make amends for the sake of our child. I'm not the person I used to be. Every single day, God is working with me to help me better love and serve Him and love and serve other people and respect people, even though it's a continual, it's like people are almost as if people try to keep you from doing that. But I know it's because there's a great lack of trust, but between both parties. And I said I've got nothing to hide from anybody. There's a good explanation for pretty much everything. All it takes is just to be able to talk about it, communicate about it, and be willing, be open to at least hear what the other person has to say. So with me, everything I've done may not have been the right thing to do, but most of the time it was done with a good intent. Not all the time, but in regards to that, most of the time I was trying to do the right thing. So, like I said, I don't have anything to hide. I'm here, I'm willing, I'm open to talk and communicate and just really work out any misunderstanding about anything. If I've wronged someone, if I've offended somebody, I'm willing to pay you back, or any way that I have taken something from you, or offended you in any way. That's the type of person I am. I want to make amends for anything that I've said, I've done. So I pray, world, everybody, and just pray, please be patient with me, bear with me. The Bible tells us to bear with one another, forgiving one another even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven us. That's the whole basis, is the fact that God has forgiven the entire world for all of our sins. and we embrace that forgiveness, and in turn we show our appreciation to God by forgiving each other and loving each other just as God has done for us. That's the gospel. So if you still hate me for anything I've said or done, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. But I'm sorry for things that I did in my ignorance, in my stupidity, just not being aware of my actions. So I pray that we can continue to give each other more, or all of us, all people, that we can continue to give each other more mercy and grace, and strive to keep peace in our world. The root of all strife is pride. The root of all sin is pride, arrogance, evil heart, a heart that devises evil things, proud look, haughtiness. It's the root of all sin. It's the root of all strife, the root of all war. And I am a son of peace. I strive. The Bible says pursue peace. That means be persistent in your pursuit of peace. Trying to asking God to help me be more humble each day. It's the hardest thing to do for a wretched sinner. We are all wretched sinners, and it shows in how we treat each other. But the good news is that Jesus Christ is the one who can deliver us, transform us, renew us. It said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds through the Word of God. The Word of God is living, active, and powerful. It can transform a sinner into a righteous, holy saint. It doesn't mean that we're perfect and we don't still make mistakes. It just means that we have a new heart, a new spirit, with new passions. So also, just to address something, this same young woman once pointed something out to me about myself that I didn't always know. And she said to me that and this is a while ago, so God has worked on me a lot since then, but I still have a lot of growing to do in this area. But she said to me, I'm one way 1 minute, and then I'm another way. I'm the exact opposite the next. 1 minute I'm kind and nurturing and loving and gentle, and the next minute I'm malicious or angry or hateful. And I didn't really understand that about myself until long after the fact. But the Lord eventually showed me that when you become a Christian, we have two different natures. We have our fleshly nature, which is the nature we're born with, we come into this world with. And Galatians chapter 5 explains to us the works of the flesh, which is every evil thing you can think of comes from the flesh, the human, the natural human inclination. That's just what we are. That's what we produce by nature. It's evil thoughts. And I already spoke about that in my video on the gospel. How that's the state, that's the human condition. We're all fallen sinners. We come into this world doing evil against God and against one another. So that's our normal. That's one nature that we have. When you become a Christian, you have two natures. You have that old nature still, but God gives you a new nature to battle alongside that old nature, or to battle that old nature. God gives you a new nature, and so you really have two natures within yourself. So there's constant conflict within yourself. There's a constant battle. That's why somebody can seem as if they got a personality disorder, or but it's just an internal conflict between the flesh and the spirit. God gives us, when you become a Christian, when you become a new creation. Old things pass away, all things become new. But it doesn't happen. That happens instantly, but the process of sanctification, being made holy, and going from always doing evil to always doing right, it's a process, and it takes time, because like I said, it's a constant battle within. The flesh is trying to suppress your new nature. The flesh wants to continue doing evil, and it wants to keep that good influence that's trying to get you to do good. It's trying to the flesh is trying to suppress the new nature that's trying to get you to do good, and the new nature is trying to destroy the flesh, which wants you to do evil. And God gives us the Holy Spirit, which gives life to our new nature. It's what energizes our new nature, and enables us to do good. It's only by the Holy Spirit of God that we can keep God's commands. God's commands is good. Everything the opposite of God's command is evil. What is evil? Evil is anything against God's command. But yeah, so so if it seems like I am 1 minute one way 1 minute and then another way the next minute, it's because there's a process going on within me. There's a work that God is doing within me and within every Christian, and in a sense, in every human being. God is trying, to those who don't know God, who don't know Jesus Christ, God is calling you. He's constantly trying to bring you into the light, bring you to himself. But there's a part of our nature, or your nature, if you're unsaved, that is all of us. There's that part of us that's constantly resisting God, resisting, fighting him. Doesn't want God. And God is constantly and God is constantly pursuing us, because he knows that he's life. God is life. So to reject him is to reject life, to choose death. Why would we choose death? God is love. God is life. God is good. That's the same thing that happened with Adam and Eve. They rejected the truth. They rejected the life. They rejected him who was good and faithful. And instead they chose him who is a liar and a deceiver and a murderer. The Bible says that the devil is a murderer from the beginning. So there's some other things about myself that I also would like to explain and clear up. It's just a lot of old things that happened in my ignorance. when I was young, when I was a child, that I'm going to address. You know, I would say the reason I brought up earlier, I said my mother sheltered us from a lot of things. So I was a lot more immature than most people my age, and so so I made certain mistakes. And also, my mother didn't teach us how to do right. She taught us some things, you know, just some. She basically just decided right and wrong for herself, and said, well, basically whatever she says goes. Whatever she says is right, whatever she says is wrong. But she didn't teach us how to how to look into God's word, see his commandments, and keep his commandments, and understand right from wrong and good from evil according to what God says. You know, so my discernment was not that good, and so I made a lot of mistakes just out of impulse or rush or whatever. And you know, I know all of that was wrong. I'm not trying to condone any of it, but it's just some things that need to be explained and put in the proper context. So God willing, excuse me. God bless to everybody listening to this message. And may the Lord continue to transform us through the renewing of our minds, through the washing and regeneration of the word. And may he continue to conform us into the image of his Son, preserve us to the day of Jesus Christ. God bless. Peace.